Good Wednesday to you, everybody in COM 785. Welcome to the second video of week 8. Kaboom. Week 8, right? I got 8. Okay. Yeah. You know, it's weird because I flipped the camera image, the mirror image for the camera. So everything that I do is backwards, left to right, right to left. But anyway, it's not that I can't count the number of fingers that I'm holding up. It's just that it's flipped backwards to me. Okay, let's get started with our second video, in which I told you I would go over the material from last week. We're going to talk about that. And then I want to propose a date for a Zoom call. Okay, give us an opportunity to talk about the midterm exam. How does Friday the 30th look? That's in 2 days, sometime in the afternoon. Like later afternoon. All right. Or maybe, and I don't like to work on the weekend, but what about Sunday? Okay. That's a day that typically people don't have to work. You've got some time off. Again, I try to be careful not to let work time, and especially I have no expectations that my work time should bleed into your work time, but not to let work time bleed into family time or worship time. I'm just looking for a time that would be available for people. All right, I'll tell you what, I'll throw it into the announcement when I send this video out. You let me know, get back to me. We'll see what we can do to get a consensus. And what we're going to do, just to let you know, it's like, okay, what are we going to be doing with this? I'll go over the answers for the test, and then we'll talk about some of the results. All of the tests are graded. So you should be able to see at this time your right answers, wrong answers, and any feedback from me. The average for the exam was 160 out of 200, which is like a C plus, which is no bueno. Let's try to figure out what's going on here. Okay. All right. Watch for that in the announcement. Please give me your feedback. I'm interested in how we can work well together. Okay. Let's take a look at the material for last week. Oh, sorry. And remember that this week, and probably going through the weekend, I'll have your discussion boards graded, so you will know where you're at with that. And then I should say one more thing. Although we have to fix whatever it is that's going on here with the exams, because we do have a final. All right. What I'm going to do for this middle section is, when we were together in residency, I had you go through that exercise, write something quick. All right. I had intended that to be a non-score exercise. That is, I didn't assign a point value to it. It was there as an exercise to give you the opportunity to work together in groups and write quickly, and then to give me the opportunity to get a sense as to where you were at. Okay. What I will do is assign a point value to that, and something like 15, 20 points. Let me take a look at it. I will add that into your total points. The total points for the class will still remain 1,000. So what this will do is give you some additional points that will add to an otherwise, for some of you, low midterm score, and bring that score for residency week and the midterm up a bit. Now, the grade for residency week is tied to your semester project, okay? And that's a 30% tie, all right? So that's completely its own gig. But I don't want you to panic about, how can I put this? I don't want you to panic over the score, but I want us to get focused and figure out how we wrap our heads around this material and retain it better when pressed, that is, asked a question. All right. That's what we're going to be up to. So anyway, just, FYI, that's out there and that's coming. Okay. Let's take a look at the readings from last week, week 7, all right? And, here we're in week 7, we were talking about strategies and tactics and messages. And, you had readings from Wilson. It was a short week. Okay. And, some of these questions we're going to go into at greater lengths and some not, because they're dependent upon your project. Like question number 1. Let's take a look at that. And it says, go to page 154 in Wilson et al. Replicate the strategy brief and apply it to your semester project. You may work in teams. Reproduce your complete strategy brief in Blackboard Post. Okay, so Daryl and Dominique, you went first. We'll take a look at you first. So you have your key publics listed. Okay. Then you have your secondary publics, if any. Let's see. Let's take a look at your key publics. A brief profile including motivated self-interest. Okay, getting alert mass about shooting. Okay, now here's, so for instance, for your key publics, you need to be as specific as possible. So when you say we choose the Brady organization because it strives to put out policies, okay, so do a little research. Who is it that the Brady organization focuses on? Now they may not tell you. And as we're going to discuss in our not-for-profit section, as we discuss the not-for-profit sector, not-for-profits are just as cagey about releasing information as businesses are, because they don't want people poaching their donors. All right. So you have to be a little stealthy. All right. You have to sort of take a look at their material, say, who is this probably aimed at? Okay. So for your key public, please be specific, because this is your key targeting demographic. So when you write brief profile including self-motivated self-interest, gun violence is the leading cause of death in America. Getting alerts now, mass shootings become new norm in the United States. Gun control debate has been going on for decades. No change. We think it's time for action. Okay, this is not your key public. This doesn't go here. Secondary public action desired from public. Act with persistent involvement to ensure tragedies of the past stay current. I don't understand that sentence. Act with persistent involvement to ensure that the tragedies of the past stay current. Like you want them to keep going on? I don't think that's what you're trying to say. This will ensure that they are motivated to provide resources. I see. So in terms of your messaging, you're going to keep the emotional dial turned up from the tragedy of the past. So the awareness, the focus, the reaction to it stays current. Did I get that right? All right. If I didn't, email me. Proposal headlines: ban assault weapons. Proposed lead: how many people are shot in the U.S., how many people, etc. New hooks. Okay. Primary message. Okay. We sought to examine. Okay. So here, look, your primary and your secondary message. Quite literally, if you gave me if you had 60 seconds in an elevator, let's say I was a lawmaker, and you've just got 1 minute. All right. So your lead is the first thing out of your mouth. This is what grabs my interest. Then your primary message is, what would you say to me? You got 60 seconds to hook me. Boom, go. Or maybe even 30 seconds. Okay. So think more focused and tighter. All right. Now, everybody else listening to this, and Daryl and Dominic, I'm not picking on you two. You were just happening to go first. Make sure that you're following, what I'm telling you to do here, because I'm not going to have time to go through everybody's, application of this to their project. Okay. Secondary, most U.S. adults support 17 of 21 gun-related policies. Okay. Primary, secondary. Okay, we skip this. Opinion leaders and how they will be used, testimonials. Okay, so what's missing from here is the opinion leaders. Which opinion leaders? Photos, charts, graphs, if any. Okay. So who's going to be your promoters? Who's going to be your gather people to the causers? They may not be the ones that promote the cause, but they promote the promotion. All right, you need to identify them, because in an era in which so much of the message has gone social, and so much of social is the message. I'm referring, of course, to social media. Who are the opinion leaders? Who are the experts? Now, on the exam, I asked you guys about the chart on page 6. This is 2018. Who do they trust the most? The answer to that question was technical experts and academic experts. The answer that a lot of you picked was a person like you, which is not the correct answer. That comes third in terms of who people trust as of 2018. Now, that may have shifted today, all right? But that wasn't the question for the test. So your task when selecting opinion leaders is first and foremost to find the category of persons that people trust. And then within that category, who stands out? And then say, how are they going to be used? Are they going to do a PSA? Are they going to do retweets? Are they going to hold a charity event? What? Okay. So everybody else following suit, your public, your key public is, to whom is this message being sent? Okay. Secondary is, in addition to this group too. Your primary message, you've got 30 seconds on the elevator. Go, give it to me. I mean, and write copy like it was finished copy. Okay. Secondary message. And then if there's more time, like, oh, that's very interesting. Tell me more. Now comes in your secondary message. Opinion leaders. Who, where, what do you want them to do? Okay. And if you're using any photos, charts, or graphs, so you guys use the video. Okay. You got to list that. And then where and when will they be distributed? Now, okay, you have BET network, CNN, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Okay. So let me start with BET. Why? Okay, say a little bit about why BET? CNN, in what way? Now, this week, you're going to read about something called news hacking, which I want you to pay particular attention to. It's a lot more useful than many people give it credit for. And it's one of the easiest ways to get your message picked up and pushed out to a large audience. But we'll talk about that next week. Okay. So have some rhyme and reason. CNN. Who's CNN? What's CNN? Anderson Cooper, CNN, or what's her face that did the town hall with President Trump? His name I can't remember. Okay. All right. Instagram. Okay. These are platforms. Who on Instagram? Who on Twitter? Who on Facebook? Because there's a gigantic difference between, say, leveraging a Dylan Mulvaney on Twitter and leveraging Elon Musk on Twitter. Ask a beer company about that. Okay, so be specific. All right. Additional uses after publication, elections, timeline, deadline. This will last as long as it takes to ban assault weapons. No. When are you going to release? Because look, people will not listen to a message indefinitely. A message indefinite becomes Charlie Brown's teacher. Womp, 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 womp. Nobody listens to that. They tune it out. And one of the, I don't know, you want to even call it unfortunate. One of the unfortunate aspects of legislation is it's about timing. So you have to plan to strike when the iron is hot, and you may not know necessarily what's heating up the public interest. Okay. And then it's about succinctness. Get it in there, get it started, get it going, get it done. Because, legislative issues, especially ones that ratchet up the emotional tension, that stretch on and on, they tend to end up dead in the water. Successful major legislative change happens quickly and poignantly. The 14th Amendment stands out as an example. And although, there's a good bit of fictionalization in the portrayal, if you've never watched it, watch Steven Spielberg's Lincoln, starring Daniel Day-Lewis, who does a great job acting in that film as Lincoln. And watch the level of intensity with which he pursues the vote to get the Emancipation Proclamation passed and then ultimately the 14th Amendment. Okay? So, more specificity. So, everybody else doing this, let me just scan through. Okay, so Charlita, you've got a little bit more in the way of time. Key public, the previous homeless population, particularly decision makers and celebrities. Okay. Again, who? All right. Okay. So everybody else, do like that. All right. Question number 2. The difference between channels and tactics. This was on the exam. Dominique, you smashed this out of the park. Channels focus your tactics because it's how you target audience will receive it. Tactics help you narrow down your message to direct to the audience. Excellent. Charlita, you also did very, very well. According to Wilson et al., choosing strategic channels, which is what I asked you about. Why should you pay attention, or really do you actually almost have to correlate your tactics, your channels to your tactics? Okay. Charlita, let me go back to your answer here because you did a good job. The choosing strategic channels sends the message to the public or target audience. The objective is to use the right communication tools and the best message to send the appropriate message at least one or more times with overlap. Bam. Okay. So there are different audiences on different channels. Just compare. So for instance, this week, I'm having you look at the demographic breakdown as to who's using what channels. And I want you to ask, because this book is written, 2018. Is it still current? Published in 2018. And I've asked you to take a look at specifically YouTube. Is that still the demographic breakdown for YouTube in 2023, or is it shifting? Because, for instance, the demographic for Facebook has shifted a lot. And the younger demographic that once used Facebook has drifted away. They are now more likely to be found on places like Instagram, on places like Snapchat, okay? And even the core demographic of things like Twitter is changing. Okay, so when you're trying to reach a key public, you have to be aware, well, what channels do these key publics use? So, it's sort of you're backing into this. And so the message that you're trying to get out to the key public, you're designing for the key public to fit onto the channel used by the key public. So pay close attention to channels as a driver for your tactics. Don't devise a tactic that is a bad fit for a channel. Okay, next question. Wilson et al. Claim that message repeated or reinforced 7 times over 30 days dramatically improves retention. Find a piece of scholarly research, think quantitative study. That 1 validates this claim and 2 offers an explanation as to why this is so. I want you to do this, not like look this stuff up, but I want you to do this reflexively. When you hear claims about the behavior of people, the first thing you should do is go looking for the evidence, because unfortunately within the social sciences, there is a very, very low rate of reproduced results. In fact, it's as low as like 30%. Like a full-on 60 to 70% of experiments in the social sciences, when repeated, produce different results. And if you're in marketing, or if you're in PR, or if you're in a not-for-profit sector, and you just go, oh, well, such and such said so, such and such paper said so, and you're wrong, well, then you're wrong. And that's not good for you. Okay. So this is one of those questions where the exercise itself was the point of the questions. Okay. Ranesh, I think you did a good job here. Okay. 2020 cross-sectional survey, secondary schools in Belgium. They asked 1,098, so that's a good sample size, adolescents, 11, 19 years old, about their eating relationships with social media messaging, including mediating roles of social norms and food literacy. The study found higher exposure to social media posts of non-core foods, sweets, and soft drinks were significantly more likely to report higher consumption of non-core foods. Okay. And it might seem obvious. Okay. So you show someone a certain kind of food and they're going to eat that certain kind of food. Don't take that for granted. Okay. So for instance, the causal connection, that is, this happens, then this happens, not the corollary connection. Okay. This happens when this happens. All right. Remember, correlation is not causation. The causal connection between violence in broadcast setting, television, etc., and violent behavior is a shaky one by way of evidentiary studies. Okay, so don't take this stuff for granted. Okay, social media marketing like television affects behavior after repeated exposures. Okay, and then you have the link to it. All right, good job. All right. Question number 4, briefly discuss the difference between strategies and tactics. And this was on the test. And a lot of you, I shouldn't say a lot of you. This was a short answer question. Most of you got this right. Please use appropriate examples of each to illustrate your discussion. Billy, you went first. We're going to give it to you first. Strategies, the plans one takes to carry out a particular plan, redundant, geared for a specific person or group. Tactics are the actions while carrying out said tactics may include actual equipment. For example, units must plan and develop strategies to complete the mission, both as best as possible before entering a combat situation with minimal risk. The tactics are the terms that will need to be in place for the mission to succeed prior to executing the strategy, i.e. artillery, heavy movement vehicles, et cetera, et cetera. Excellent. And remember, strategy is you plotting your overall goal and direction and objective. Tactics are how you do it. Tactics should, by nature, be flexible, because if you're doing something to execute on a strategy and it's just not working, people are just not picking up the message. Okay, the first thing to look at is your tactic. If you're putting it on a platform where your target audience just isn't there, or if you're putting it out in a way that it's just not resonating, it seems stale, or to use an internet term, cringy. Okay, you got to change. And then when you change your tactics, if that still doesn't get it, maybe the strategy is not a good one. Maybe the strategy was flawed. And typically, if you have to rip down and redo a strategy, you're talking about a whole new campaign. Okay, so tactics you can switch out, and it's not a bad idea to have 2 or 3 tactics in place for a single action. So for instance, getting your message out on social media. Okay, so well, our tactic is we're going to start with tweets. Well, what if nobody picks up your tweet? All right, what's the second option in terms of introduction of the message? Do you have a tactic number 2? Tactic number 3? Try to think of it in those terms. Okay. All right, everybody. Good job. So, by the way of reading through these things, what I want you to do is, again, because I just, to keep these videos within we're only up at 25 minutes, some sort of manageable size. I cannot go through everybody's. So listen to what I say. If, say for number 1, in terms of this strategy plan, if you're missing chunks, go back and fix it. Okay. If you don't understand the difference between tactics and strategy, listen to the video and then go and reread it. If you do not, he's like, okay, why do I need to let the channels that I'm using drive my tactics? And we're talking about social media. Back into the text you go. All right, everybody. I will send out in the announcements, sort of an open, when do you think we should not open invitation, open suggestion for holding a Zoom meeting to talk about the exam. Let's go over this. Okay. I'm not mad. All right. I'm concerned that either I'm not giving you the information about what sort of information I want you to get. Okay. Or if I'm giving it to you, it's not like, sticking there. I didn't repeat it 7 times within 30 days. I don't repeat it a lot, but maybe not enough. But anyway, so this is meant to be, not a butt chew session where I go, but it's a dialogue. It's like, okay, what's going on here? All right, so that's what we're going to do. All right, everybody have a terrific rest of the week. Have a blessed weekend. Get out and enjoy the weather and all of that biz. And I will see you on Blackboard. God bless you. Bye-bye.